Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hakian channel. Today we're going to be doing linear modeling, which is going off the linear equations and graph topic. So today's learning intention is to understand how to model a linear rule and to link two variables. So variables, just a bit of a reminder, could be a letter, could be A, could be X, and these two variables could resemble something, like A could resemble cost, and X might be time. Okay, so how much your time would cost. So today's success criteria is that you can identify the two variables in a worded problem. You can model a linear rule or graph using a Cartesian plane, which looks like this. Okay, and hopefully you are also using your ruler. Okay, let your teacher know if you don't have a ruler as well. And the last success criteria is that you can find the linear rule and sketch the graph. So what you need to do for linear modeling is you need to find the rule to link the two variables, which we'll go over. You need to be able to sketch the graph, which we will do a worked example of. And you need to use the graph rule to predict or estimate the value of one of the variables. So when we go over the rules, it will be through a substitution method. So if you've forgotten what that is, that's when you put the value into the equation. So if I had, x equals 2 and the equation was y equals x plus 1 and it said find the value of y, you'd put x equals 2 into here. So it becomes y equals 2 plus 1, y equals 3. Okay, so we could say that y equals x plus 1 is an example of a rule. And you find the gradient or rate of change. It sometimes says rate of change in your textbook, but we mostly refer to the rate of change as gradient, which you would also know as your m in the linear equation there, y equals mx plus c. So we're going to look at one of the worked examples from the textbook, and then I'm going to put a question up and we're going to go through that one as well. So the question that we have here is the deal offered by BikeShare, so this must be the company's name. A bicycle rental company is a fixed charge of $20 plus $5 per hour of use. So the first part A, write a rule for the total cost C dollars. So they've given you the variable, okay, cost is C dollars, of renting a bike for T hours. So that's your first variable here, and that's your second variable, T hours. So how do you write a rule? So by looking at the question, it says that you start at $20, fixed charge means you start. So, if I start today, it's $20. Tomorrow, it's $20. Okay, you don't start at 0, you start at 20. That's what fixed charge would mean. Plus the $5 every hour. That's what this means. So to write an equation like that, you could say C, which is the cost, is the starting dollars, which is $20, plus, like the question says, $5 per hour. So that means every hour, which is T, okay, would be multiplied by the $5. So which we'll use, okay? So the new equation is C equals fixed charge 20 plus $5 per hour. That's what this rule is saying. So in B, it says to sketch the graph of C versus T. Now that sounds really confusing. All you need to know is you need to be able to identify which variable is your x-axis and which one's your y. So that's what B is saying. Now this might throw you off a little, but this is pretty much saying that your graph cannot be below 0 because this is 0 is less than or equal to the hours, which is T, which is less than and equal to 10. So this is saying that your graph can only be from 0 to 10 for T. So if you look down here, you can see, I know it's a bit cut off because of my laptop, that's actually 10. 0 to 10, that's what T can only be. That's what this means. So the highest hours that we can calculate is 10 hours. That's what this means. So you can see here, okay, the c-intercept is 20, all right? Because if you look at that formula, it actually looks like c equals 20 plus 5t is the same format as y equals, this is mx plus c. Do we see that? And c we know is the y-intercept. And most of the time we write mx first, but this question is trying to confuse you. So if the y-intercept is 20, you need to start your line at 20. So this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. We don't write y and x, we use the variables that we have, which is c and t. So now that we start at 20, you can just put your other point in using intercept method, which you would have learnt before this lesson. And to do that, you substitute the t value or the x value, 10, okay, into the rule. So we can see that when hours is 10, okay, we substitute the 10 in. Now the sign that goes here is the multiplication sign. So 20 plus 5 times 10 is 70. So the new coordinate is same x-intercept we've used, x coordinate, which is 10, y coordinate 70. So that we put the point there, 10, 70. Okay, so part C says, what is the total cost when a bike is rented for 4 hours? So this is saying to substitute t equals 4 because hours we said is t, and we're saying I'm giving you what t is, the t value, which is 4. So we put the 4 into the t. So the rule is c equals 20 plus 5t. Then we put 4 in, so 20 plus 5, 4, and the sign in between is multiply. So it's 20 plus 5 times 4, which is 40. Okay, because 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 plus 20 is 40. So the cost is $40 when the bike is rented for 4 hours. Okay, now for D, if the total cost was $50, so now we're doing cost, which is C, not T. Okay, so you need to think about which value, which variable you're substituting into. Is it C or T? So C, this question C, we were substituting for T. And this question D, we're substituting for C. So if the total cost was $50, how many hours was a bike rented? This means for this question, you're searching for T. You're looking for it. So you write the rule again, and it's a good habit to write the rule. You substitute your C value, your new one, which is $50, which says it in the question, equals 20 plus 5t. And using your rearrangement of algebra, you can solve for t. So you carry the 20 across after the first house. So this is now 50 minus 20, which gives you 30. Okay, and you know I'm quite OCD, so I usually write 5t equals 30, but you can leave it like this too, as long as the letter you're searching for is always left of the equal sign. That's why I always get into the habit of doing this. So how do I get rid of 5? That's with t. You divide both sides by 5. Okay, so 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. And that's how we get t equals 6. Now we don't write the 1 in front of the letter because we say that's imaginary. All right? So now you need to write it in words that the bike was rented for 6 hours when the total cost was $50. When the total cost is $50. Now remember, you can pause the video at any time and you can go back and replay it. Feel free to ask your teacher questions if you don't understand, because we are heading towards worded problems with linear equations. So now we're going to do the second worked example, but I'm going to work through it with you. So A salesperson earns $500 per week plus $10 for each item sold. So before we had a fixed price of $20, we can see here that this salesperson earns $500 a week, which is their fixed price, plus $10 for every item sold. So it says in A, write a rule for the total weekly wage, W dollars, so it's giving you your first variable, if the salesperson makes X sales. So that's your second variable, that's your first variable. So we could write that your total weekly wage is the starting price $500 plus $10 for every item sold. This is items sold, okay? And this is weekly wage. And this is like a set, like a fixed. This is fixed. Okay, now if they don't give you the variables, like the letters, you can make it up yourself. But make sure you write something like let X equals sales, for example. If you wanted X to be sales, you could do let S equals sales. It's up to you. Only if the question doesn't ask for the variable. So part B says draw a graph of W versus X for 0 less than equal to X, which is less than equal to 100. So that's giving you the boundaries of the X axis, which is the bottom horizontal line. Do we see that? So this is giving you the boundaries, the limits. So we know that the minimum number can be 0 and the highest number can be 100. So we draw a graph for W, okay, versus X. Now, to find out this coordinate, you need to substitute the highest number, which is 100, into the rule. So the rule is W equals 500 plus 10X, which we worked out in A. So we substitute X equals 100 into that equation. So it's W equals 500 plus 10 times 100. Okay? And that's what that looks like. So now we've got W equals 500 plus 10 times 100, which is 1,000. And we add 500 to 1,000 together, which gives us 1,500. And that gives us our new Y coordinate. So it is important to put this coordinate in. So this is the X-axis coordinate, and this is your Y, or in this case, your W coordinate. Okay? Now, after you've drawn a line from there to there, you can work on the next question, which is C. How much does the salesperson earn in a week if they make 25 sales? So the first step is to write the rule you created in part A. So W equals 500 plus 10X. Now this means you are trying to sub X is 25 into the equation, and you're trying to find out W. That's what you're trying to find. So you need to find out what you're subbing and what you're trying to find. So you substitute X equals 25 into the rule. W equals 500 plus 10 times the X value, which is 25. So 500 plus 10 times 25 is 750. And you write the salesperson would earn $750 if they make 25 sales. So you need to always remember a worded problem requires a worded answer. Alright, so now you've done C, we're moving on to D. So in a particular week, the salesperson earns $850. So now we know this is our W value because W was dollars, and we know that X is sales. Alright, so that would be how many sales. So it'd be a number, not in dollars. How many sales did they make? So now we know we've got W. we are trying to solve for X. So substitute W equals 850 into the rule. So W equals 500 plus 10x, that's from part A. You substitute 850 into W, which I've done so, and just copy down the same rule down. You see I've copied 500, I've copied 10x. Then you carry 500 across. Now the imaginary sign in front of 500 is plus, because we don't see negative, which means when it crosses the equal sign, it turns into negative. So now it's 850 minus 500 equals 10x. Now 850 minus 500 is 350. So now we've got 350 equals 10x. How do we get rid of the 10? We divide both sides by the 10. So you can see that I've just divided this side by 10 and I've divided this side by 10, and it's now given me x equals 35. Now remembering, we don't write 1 in front of the variable or the letter, we just leave it. That's why I haven't written 35 equals 1x. I've just gone x equals 35. So a worded problem requires a worded answer, so that means you need to write the salesperson makes 35 sales in order to earn $850 in that particular week, or something similar. As long as you've said 35 sales and that they earn $850 in a week, you should get the mark. And that is all for linear modeling today. Make sure you ask your teacher questions, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you.